So we saw in the lecture 15.1 that if we have an RC circuit and let us take it to the frequency domain and discuss it there, then we saw that the for transfer function to be valid, if you remember, we had several representation of this thing. Let me choose to write it um, in this way now. S over 1 over RC. If you remember, for an RC circuit, the time constant is something that is 1 over RC, and it has units of time because there is time constant. But what is 1 over RC is 1 over time, so its units would be that of frequency per second. So basically this thing is a frequency. And uh, let me give a title to this topic, that we are trying to understand the frequency response of circuits. The circuit at hand is an RC circuit. So the frequency response of an RC circuit is what we are looking at. So if tau is the time RC, then 1 over tau is frequency. So let us name this 1 over RC, which is a special parameter of this particular circuit. Let us call it omega naught to be, and we know that we have heard this term, but let us just write it for now. Let us say it is the resonant radian frequency, omega naught. Then we can write this thing as 1 over 1 plus S over omega naught. Now, what we are interested in is frequency, and the S is a complex variable which has a real part and an imaginary part. This real part covers the decay part, decaying frequency or decaying coefficient, decaying part of the source, and this covers the sinusoidal, the repetitive nature, the frequency of the part. So if we make sigma equal to 0, then S becomes equal to j omega, and this transfer function can be written as h of j omega. S is replaced by j omega wherever that is 1 over 1 plus j omega over omega naught. So this is now the transfer function, and sigma is 0. So what is this telling? A transfer function is a function of omega. It's going to tell you um, how would the circuit respond to a sinusoidal input, and if the frequency is changed. So now we would be able to draw graphs of something versus omega to see what's happening when say omega is changed from 0 to infinity. So this is h of j omega. Remember, this is a complex quantity that we are going to get. So h of j omega is a complex quantity, and we are, remember, h of j omega is not phasor because it's not a voltage or current. It's the relationship between two voltages, two currents, or a voltage and current. H of j omega is a complex number. It is going to have a magnitude, and it is going to have a phase. Let us call this theta j omega, although some books refer this to as theta omega, but it's more convenient probably to call it theta j omega. Or rather, I just have a thought that it is in fact theta omega because there is not going to be any j in this. We clearly know that we can find this out. This magnitude h of j omega would be equal to the magnitude of this thing 1 over 1 plus j omega over omega naught, and this would be equal to the magnitude of 1 divided by the magnitude of 1 plus j omega over omega naught. Now this is a real number, its magnitude is the same 1. This is a complex number, its magnitude is 1 square plus this thing square, the imaginary part square, omega over omega naught squared and square root of this thing. So this is the magnitude response, how it depends on omega, and this theta omega would be equal to the phase angle of the numerator, which is a real number, so it has 0 as the phase angle, and whenever there is a division, then the phase angle of the numerator minus the phase angle of the denominator is what we write, and the phase angle of this complex number is going to be tan inverse of the imaginary part divided by real part. And because this is the phase angle of this 0 minus this thing, we are going to get minus tan inverse omega over omega naught. So there is no j here. This is what is called the phase response. How is the phase going to be changed of the input, and this is the magnitude response. So now in the frequency response, in the study of frequency response, we have to understand two separate things: the magnitude response and the phase response. The transfer function tells how is the magnitude of the input changed to become the output's magnitude, and the phase response tells how the phase of the output is going to change, or how the phase of the input is going to be changed, um, or what would be the phase of the output in relation to the phase of the input. So this is what we would encounter for circuits. We would try to find h of j omega magnitude and theta omega the phase response and the magnitude response for a circuit. For that to be found, we need to know h of s, and in order to bring the linear terms, factors of s in the denominator, or we will see in other circuits they would occur in the numerator as well, in this form, rather than writing h of s like, we can write a typical h of s like some constant and s plus some 0 z1, s plus some 0 z2, plus so on, s plus some 0 kth 0 divided by s plus pole 1 into s plus pole 2 plus s plus pole n, some nth. So there are k zeros and n poles, but instead of writing it this way, what we are going to do, we will take z1 common. So this term will become 1 plus s over z1. Similarly, z2 common, 1 plus, and I hope you understand that we are going to bring a typical transfer function written in this form to this form first by writing all the factors as 1 plus s over something. So we are going to get k multiplied by z1 into z2 into zk, and the terms would then become 1 plus s over z1 into 1 plus s over z2. So z, and I have several ways of writing the z, 1 plus s over zk divided by, so we are going to have p1s multiplied by p2 multiplied by, so remember that these are all constants, z1 z2 and this p1 p2 etc, and this k. So all of these multiply to become a constant of this form, say some other constant k naught, and 1 plus s over z1 1 plus s over z2 into 1 plus s over zk divided by 1 over s over p1, 1 plus s over p2, and so on, 1 plus s over pn. So this is how you convert any transfer function written in this form to such factor form that we have the factors in the form 1 plus s over a pole or 0, depending upon whether it's in the numerator or the denominator. Here you can clearly see that the h of s that we are dealing with has a single pole, a pole at s is equal to omega naught. Because of this factor 1 plus s over omega naught, it's in the denominator, so this omega naught is a pole. This is also known as a critical frequency. Zeros and poles are known as critical frequencies in general, but in this particular question, this omega naught is also known to be the resonant frequency of this circuit. So I think it's clear up till now. Once we have h of j omega in this form available to us, once we have h of s in this form available to us, we replace or put s is equal to j omega to get this thing. Once we get h of j omega, then we can find h of j omega magnitude. Remember, there is no j in here, it's a magnitude, it's real. And there is the phase angle is also a number, there is no j in here. So we can say this h of j omega magnitude is also h of omega, but this is the general way it is written because it is written with these magnitude signs. So if the magnitude signs are to be removed, we can write it as h of omega, but this is not used in literature, so we will avoid that. Now we come to the very important and interesting thing. Let us plot this. Magnitude and the phase angle both versus omega. So in order to do this, in order to do the plotting, we obviously need some a lot of values of h of j omega magnitude and theta omega for various values of omega. So let me make a table for that. So we have omega here, and let us say this is the h of j omega magnitude, and this is theta omega. And I'm going to make some comments about these values here. So what's going to happen when omega is 0? Remember, this is the DC case. When this 0 omega means the source is not varying, its frequency is 0, it's not changing, so it's a DC case. So then what would be the magnitude at j omega? When omega is 0, we get 1 over square root of 1, which is 1, which is 1. And what would be theta omega? Omega is 0 minus tan inverse of 0 is 0. No phase change. So this means that for DC input, output would be of same magnitude as input and same phase. No phase difference, same magnitude, because h of s is the ratio of output over input. So h of j omega is v naught over vi. So if vi, you can take this to be the value of the output if vi is taken to be 1 angle 0 degree, then vo is equal to h of j omega right away. So you can interpret this to be the output as well. If the magnitude of the input is 1, then the magnitude of the h of j omega is the magnitude of the output. If the phase of the input is 0, then the phase of h of j omega is going to be the phase of the output. So what if omega is going to be equal to, say, omega naught? Omega naught is that critical frequency, the important frequency for that circuit that's there. So if omega is equal to omega naught, we are going to have 1 here, and we are going to have 1 over under root 2 as the output, which is 0.707. So if the input has magnitude 1, output magnitude has decreased, and the phase would be equal to tan inverse of 1, which is 45 degrees. So you can now understand what will be the effect on magnitude and the response. The frequency at which h of j omega magnitude is 1 by under root 2 times the h max is called resonant frequency. Sorry, not resonant frequency, is called the cut-off frequency. For now, note the name cut-off frequency. I will tell about why it is called the cut-off frequency in a while. This is the definition. This frequency, when omega is equal to omega naught, in this particular case, not always, this omega naught is the resonant frequency as well as the cutoff frequency. So what is going to happen if omega is equal to infinity? That is saying very large value. So we have infinity over something, k square is infinity, 1 over infinity plus 1 is infinity, square root is infinity, 1 over infinity is 0. And tan inverse of infinity is 90 degrees. So what does this mean? If we have a very large frequency of the input for this particular circuit, the output would be 0. The output would be 0 and the phase angle would be 90 degrees, actually meaningless, but I have just used mathematics to describe this. So output is 0. Perhaps you have sort of started seeing how is this circuit behaving. If the input, if the frequency of the input is low, the output is high. If the input frequency becomes higher, the output becomes gradually lower. So if you can see that for, let us use some round off. So if the frequency is much less than omega naught, we are in a frequency, a lower frequency, which is, so we are dealing with low frequency, much less than this double less than sign in, very less, much less than omega naught, then we are dealing with a case closer to omega is equal to 0. That is, the output would approximately be the same as the input, and the phase would be approximately 0, the change in phase of the input. And if we are dealing with a high frequency, that is, we are much far away towards the higher side of omega naught, we are going to get almost close to 0, and the phase angle would approach 90 degree. How would this idealized, this is a practical circuit with a practical R and C in here, but what does this behavior in the ideal world would be? We are trying to say that if we plot this h of j omega magnitude is a number or a dimensionless thing, if we are dealing with two voltages or two currents, but It's not, it has dimensions if we are dealing with one voltage and one current. But let me first try to mark these on the graph, approximate graph that we are drawing. So if omega is 0, we have h of j omega magnitude as 1, and for some value of omega naught, this becomes equal to 0.707, and then for a very large value it becomes 0. So can we see that it is gradually decaying? How this decay works is obviously not linear, because don't have a linear relationship here. But how this curve goes is not clear, because we have not taken several values. And this frequency is also the cutoff frequency, written as omega c. Omega c, for this particular case, for RC circuit, this omega naught is 1 over RC, and which is also equal to the cutoff frequency. So by looking at the shape of this magnitude graph, this is known as the magnitude response, or the magnitude plot. By the shape of it, we can see that higher output occurs when we are dealing with lower frequencies, and a lower output happens when we are dealing with higher frequencies. The shape tells that higher frequencies produce zero output, and lower frequency produce output close to input. Such circuits are called low pass filter. A filter is a circuit. Filter is a term used to refer to circuits. When we are interested in frequency response. So when we are interested in time domain expressions, we don't call the circuit a filter. But when we are dealing with frequency responses, how is the output going to change? If the frequency of the input is changed, not the amplitude, not the phase, frequency, then we call the circuit to be a filter. And by low pass means it passes the low frequencies, as we have written here. So let me write it here. Passes a low pass filter passes lower frequency voltages, or say signals, and stops higher frequency signals. By passing, it does not mean that is completely unattenuated, is exactly the same as the input. And by stopping, it does not mean that the output is zero. That is just in the extreme cases. So for typical circuits, the output would be high for lower frequencies and low for the higher frequencies. In If we are dealing with an ideal low pass filter, an ideal low pass filter is a filter expected to behave something like, let me change the color of the pen. An ideal low pass filter is a filter which has such a behavior that at a particular frequency, say omega c, before that frequency or for frequencies lower than that frequency, its output is 1, and just after that frequency until infinity, its output is 0. So this is called the brick wall response of filters, because it is like a sudden jump here. And this cutoff frequency is that frequency for an ideal low pass filter below which it passes the input to the output, and above that frequency it stops that, so the output is 0. We can see that in real world, in practical world, an ideal filter does not exist. The practical circuit responses are much smooth. There is no sudden transition even in the frequency domain. So basically, when we are dealing with the practical circuits, we cannot say there exists any frequency below which it will pass and above which it will suddenly stop. Is not possible. So we had to define some frequency somehow that should be treated as this cutoff frequency. So by definition, the frequency at which the magnitude of the response is 1 by under root 2, 0.707 times the maximum value of the response is called the cutoff frequency. So that by definition is cutoff. At the cutoff frequency, the magnitude is 1 by under root 2 times the maximum value of the response. So these are some new things that we are learning. We are learning about filters, about the frequency response. Now we are more interested in looking at the output, the change that the circuit is going to bring to the input if the frequency of the input is varied. And we will look at the frequency response as the magnitude response and the phase response, and we should be able to draw them and remember all these terms and be able to find the various attributes of a filter. For example, we have seen for a low pass filter, this is a necessary, this is a very important parameter of the filter, and this cutoff frequency. There are some other terms. So the frequencies that a filter allows to pass through, the band of the frequencies is known as the pass band, and the band that extends for a low pass filter from omega c to infinity is known as the stop band. The width of this pass band is something known as beta, where beta is called the bandwidth. You might have heard this term when discussing about the internet connection and the mobile channels, for example, or communication channels. So this bandwidth is basically that band of frequencies that the low pass filter passes. It is defined as, so this beta is defined as, for a low pass filter, it is defined as omega c, because the pass band extends from 0 to omega c, and the stop band extends from omega c to infinity. So we learned about this term, the cutoff frequency, the bandwidth, two important parameters of a circuit, omega c and bandwidth for a low pass filter. For other filters, we have similar and some other parameters and attributes. We will learn as we go, as we get to those points and circuits. And these terms, pass band and stop band, should be well understood.